4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay.
Okay. Take 4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Okay.
Okay. Take 4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
From the ethereal realm of devotion to the practicality of daily spiritual practice, across the vast landscape of Vedic wisdom and teachings, this is Vaishnava Voices. Hosted by the dynamic husband and wife duo, Srila Das and Dana Devi, they bring to you an intimate exploration of the vibrant world of Vaishnavism. Interweaving ancient scriptures with modern contexts, personal stories with universal lessons, they illuminate the path of love, devotion, and conscious living.
Hare Krishna, and welcome everyone to another episode of Vaishnava Voices. I'm your co-host, Srila Das, and beside me, as always, is the wonderful Dana Devi. Today, as with every episode, we're diving deep into the heart of Vaishnava teachings, exploring the wisdom, culture, and practices that guide us towards a life filled with devotion and service.
That's right, Sitapati. We are thrilled to have you on this journey with us. Whether you are a seasoned devotee, a spiritual seeker, or simply curious about Vaishnavism, here in Vaishnava Voices, we are all about fostering connection, understanding, and growth. And remember, we are not just exploring, we are also experiencing. So let's begin.
So sit back, prepare your hearts and minds, and tune into the sounds of the soul on Vaishnava Voices.
Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Total world victory of Hare Krishna. My name is Srila Das,
My name is Dana Devi.
and this is this week's episode of Vaishnava Voices. It's September 11th.
Yes.
Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. Yeah. And we're back from being away for Janmashtami and Srila Prabhupada's appearance. We went away for a week. We also went to the premiere of the River of Freedom movie,
Mhm.
River of Freedom, Heart of the Protest, the 2.5-hour documentary about the New Zealand Parliament protests, featuring all of the New Zealanders who went there and took part, including the devotees of Lord Vishnu, devotees of Krishna, the Hare Krishnas. And we were there. We did 90 minutes of kirtan outside to welcome people into the film. You can see photos of that on the River of Freedom on their Facebook page.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were also joined there by today's guest at the premiere and at Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja and the Janmashtami Festival. We got to spend like all of those experiences
Yes.
with Vaiyasaki Das, disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And if we're lucky, we'll also be able to get his wonderful wife, Kishori Devi.
Oh, she's not there.
I'm not sure if she's going to be joining us or not. I know Vaiyasaki's here. We had to do a little bit of technical issues. I apologize for the delay to our 4 viewers who are watching live. Thank you for tuning in. We both appreciate
Yes, we do.
your time and your attention. And it's definitely going to be worth it. Anything that you want to say before we welcome Vaishnava Das onto the stream?
We don't know what's the topic,
I got a few kind of things in mind. There's a
Yeah.
few things that I'd like to
but
talk
let's
to
leave it
Prabhu about.
open.
Yeah.
What it takes. Okay.
Okay, here he is. Without further ado, folks, it is the internationally renowned kirtanier, investigative journalist, best-selling author, and devotee of Krishna, Vayasaski Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavats, and welcome to Vaishnava Voices.
Nice
Hare
to see you
Krishna.
again.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thanks for coming on the show, and thanks for coming to New Zealand and Australia.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It was a pleasure.
Fennell's watching. She says, I think this will be good. You're a good judge, Fennella. It will be good. Thank you. You are welcome. Are we going to have Kishori Devi join us at any point today, or we're just with you today?
Yeah, she'll come after me.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. Yeah, it was great going to River of Freedom, the movie, with you. You know, I waited for 1.5 years for the movie to come out. I knew it was going to come. I didn't see this whole thing necessarily coming in 2020 as it did, but you know, if I go back and because I went back onto Amazon, had a look for your books on there. The answer is Hare Krishna, hi all. And I knew about the Cosmology on Trial. I knew about the Radha Damodar Vilas books, but I did not realize that you had written a book in 2017 called, oh, I had it up here a second ago. Oh, here it is here. Yeah. Vaccines on Trial.
Mm.
Disclaimer before we go into the subject. We will make no claims or assertions about efficacy or safety. Nothing that we say in here constitutes medical advice. The World Health Organization is the ultimate authority on everything that is real and true on YouTube. And we acknowledge the censors on YouTube and their loyalty. If there's nothing else that I can say, I respect their loyalty to the World Health Organization. And we're not going to say anything to contradict any of that, but neither are we going to shy away from talking about the bigger picture and the bigger issues. So you wrote this book, Truths and Consequences of Mandatory Shots, 3 years before 2020 even came around in 2017. That was quite, what inspired you to tackle that as a subject?
I can't remember what exactly inspired me, but talk about vaccines. I knew that vaccines was not something that devotees should take because Prabhupada explained it to us. So that was the first thing. The second thing is vaccine is something you take when you're healthy, not when you're ill. That means that it's not medicine. Medicine you take when you're ill. Vaccine you take when you're healthy. So what it's intended to be is an immune system. So it's an immune system to prevent some illness to befall you. That's what a vaccine is defined as. But we all have the internal Krishna immune system built into our bodies. So I was trying to explain that we have a choice. We can either choose to take shelter of the immune system given by the Supreme Lord, Krishna, or we can choose to take shelter of the immune system given by the conditioned souls manufactured by them who have imperfect senses, who make mistakes, who sometimes have the cheating propensity and sometimes an illusion. So I saw it as a choice devotees have to make. It's a test. Are we going to take shelter of Krishna and his immune system, or take shelter of the conditioned souls and their immune system? So scanning the Shastra, I never found any reference that we should take shelter of conditioned souls. It was always take shelter of Krishna. And so therefore I wrote this book and explained and compared the vaccine system that they were giving. This was before COVID, for the children. All the vaccines they were giving to children, none of which I had when I grew up, fortunately. And I compared it to what happened to in the tobacco era in the 50s, when doctors were paid to say that smoking was healthy, it was good, didn't harm you. So, and this was labeled later as tobacco science. So I showed that its vaccine system is also based on tobacco science. And I, so many chapters, step by step, I proved that. So that was Vaccines on Trial. Then when the COVID hit, I wrote another book. That was in 2020. And that I wrote under a pseudonym because I didn't want a negative feedback knocking on my door. So, and that was called Uncovering China Uncovered. China Uncovered. That was the name of that book. And now in 2023, we go back, everything that I said and wrote and predicted in that book came true, is now a fact. Of course, in those days, people were calling me a conspiracy theorist, but now they have to call me that book was conspiracy fact.
Yes. It's called China Uncovered. Is it available on Amazon?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon.
Okay. The Rise of the Dragon?
Yep.
Okay. Huh. This one here, hey?
They're
Okay.
both with the same name as well.
How the Pandemic Was Deliberate Sabotage, this one?
The Rise of the Dragon.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Wow. Prolific writer. And then I was talking with Gora Prabhu, your godbrother, whose Vyasa Puja offering that I read at the festival that we had, and he was recounting to me how early on in the whole piece he has a group of Prabhupada disciples, and at that time he kind of wanted to avoid like it becoming a controversial schism inducing kind of conversation, so he had like suppressed conversation around it himself at a certain point there, and that seemed to be kind of like a that's one approach, is let's just not talk about this thing because there's going to be so much differences about it. But one thing that I noticed, and I kind of was like, if we were going to take a position in ISKCON, we should take that position. But I did notice that there was like a very heavy pro, why I decided that getting vaccinated was the right decision for me, slant on all of the ISKCON news media and sites, which I found to be, I don't know, as a conspiracy theorist, a conspiracy, a clear conspiracy in plain sight to suppress any counter narrative like your books, the kind of position that you'd been presenting that was like you could find articles on Thunderbolts.com like that going years back, but suddenly at a certain point it just completely switched and they started saying exactly what McDonald's and Nike and the mainstream media was saying. It was weird.
Well, here's the thing, Sitapati. There are people who don't want to bring up this issue for various reasons, to protect the Vaishnava Sangha, to protect the society, etc., etc. But Krishna brought it up. Krishna arranged that this would happen and that we would have to choose sides. So we may pretend that we're doing something to protect it, but Krishna's seeing which side will we choose? Will we choose taking shelter of him, or will we choose taking shelter of the conditioned souls? Every step of the way on the path back home, back to God, there's a test and we have to make a choice. So I chose Krishna's side rather than, and I wasn't concerned about, will this create a schism, or will people be unhappy? Will they blaspheme me? Will they say this or that? That's not the concern. I'm not concerned about others. I'm only concerned about what Krishna thinks and what's Krishna's opinion, because I'm a devotee. I'm his devotee. I'm on the path back home, back to Godhead. And whatever other people think, say, or do doesn't have much bearing on me if it's going to deviate me from surrendering to Sri Krishna. So that was my position.
Mm.
Very strong position, actually, Count on Krishna, that's it.
Mm. Yeah,
it's very simple. The truth is simple. It's the Maya that's complicated. The truth is simple. Krishna is God. Surrender to God. Your spirit soul, your das anudas, his eternal servant. It's very simple. It's very clear cut.
Mm.
That's the absolute truth.
And it was great having you at the River of Freedom premiere. 1,400 people. After spending so many years of being immersed in this environment where it was kind of like I was like the odd one out. We were the odd ones out in a crowd. To be among 1,400 people, like-minded, Sangha was amazing. And what were your thoughts on the movie itself?
Well, when I first arrived, I had no idea what the movie is going to be about. And as it unfolded, I became aware of the situation. And then at the end, I realized that this was a very important film because it's showing that the governments are trying to force people against their will to inject substances into their bodies that they don't want. And every country is doing this. And so here in New Zealand, we saw how the protests of the people made the government change their policy. And so they stopped the mandatory vaccination. So I realized this movie has to go to every country so that people in other countries can see that when we protest and we let people or government people know that they can't control us, then we get a positive result. So that was a positive result in New Zealand, and we need this positive result in other countries as well. So that film is important. It has to go worldwide and soon.
Mhm.
Yeah. By Krishna's grace, I think it will. Yeah. That it got Krishna's blessing. They put Krishna in there quite a bit. So I've been writing to get it shown in the cinema in Whangarei, and I was like, any promotion of that film is Sankirtan because it has the chanting of the holy name in there, and amidst the other kind of aspects of it.
Right. So the holy name was chanted there, and the devotees were prominent there. And what we noticed was that when the devotees appeared on the screen, the people in the audience clapped and applauded. They liked the devotees. They appreciated the devotees. So this was wonderful. We made great inroads. We made friends. And then I was introduced to one lady who had become a devotee as a result of our protest. Then I heard later on there were many people who became devotees as a result. So Prabhupada taught us, palena parichiyate, you judge by the result. You go somewhere, you make devotees, it's a good result, it's the correct result.
Mhm.
That is the program.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so you also had the Cosmology on Trial book and the Stephen Hawking on Trial. So that was kind of a whole other aspect as well. How do these things relate to each other?
Okay, so the TOVP, the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium, was coming up. And normally when you're going to build a planetarium and present a cosmology, first you figure out the cosmology. Once you figure it out, you build the temple. ISKCON was doing it backwards. They're building the temple first and still hadn't decided or agreed upon, come to a consensus about the Vedic cosmology. So I wrote these two books, and it was endorsed by when they were written, but about 6 or 7 years ago, by the TOVP people at that time, that these books they would hand out to people, because people would say, well, this is not scientific. Then you give them my books, and in my two books, Cosmology on Trial and Stephen Hawking on Trial, I demonstrate how we think that the Shastra is mythology, but the science is equally mythological. And so I point out all these things. And I give an example that when I passed my my physics exam in university many years ago, and I got a good mark, if I gave the same answers today, I would fail. And it's because the science keeps changing, whereas the Vedic understanding is already at the conclusion. And science is slowly, step by step, trying to come to the conclusion of reality, but they're far away. So my books show how far away they are. And then Stephen Hawking, I just showed how time and again he contradicted himself. Time and again, how he said things that were illogical and didn't make sense. And I just presented these things and left it up to the reader to come to their own conclusion. It's like, for example, in my book, Cosmology on Trial, Carl Sagan, who was one of the top American astronomers, he had gone to India, and he said of all the major religions, only one, the Hindus, came close to the scientific figures of our universe, no doubt by accident. And then he goes on, and I say, no doubt by accident. And then from that, I slice and dice where's the proof that it was an accident? And how can you get how by accident you get all the exact figures? And then I showed how their figures were even more profound than the scientific figures, because they'd gone and they even explained how long the universe exists and when it comes to an end. And also that the universe is expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. These are all new theories. And that there's also many universes, and so, which is the multiverse. So all these new ideas and theories that are coming into cosmology were already explained in the Vedas thousands of years ago. So I just point this out.
Yeah, we saw Oppenheimer the movie recently, and of course, Oppenheimer's famous for having read the Bhagavad Gita in Sanskrit, and all of those guys who were like nuclear particle physicists, and especially once they started getting into quantum mechanics, quantum mechanical phenomenon, they all were like became interested in the Upanishads and the Vedas, because they were like, here is a description of the universe that seems to like include within it like quantum mechanical phenomenon, and this idea of the, you know, that reality is generated by consciousness, by conscious observation, and under observation, you know, the wave function collapses into a certain kind of like material reality. And so they all, exactly like Carl Sagan, but maybe a little less atheistic than him, got into that kind of stuff.
Right. So that's the thing. The sincere physicists, they come closer and closer to the Vedic understanding, but it's the Vedic, not the personal, the impersonal understanding. So they're all coming to the basic impersonal understanding, which is a reality. But if they go deeper and deeper, eventually they will come to the personal understanding. They have a long way to go, but they're on the path. The problem is when you get scientists like Hawking and others think that now we've finally understood, when you're just 1/3 of the way, that's very misleading. They should just say, at this point in time, we have this idea and we have this, but we're, you know, still a long way from the truth. But they don't say that. They present it as, now we know. That's the problem.
I'll put the link to the Stephen Hawking book here as well. Let's see. I put the link for the Cosmology on Trial. That's the Stephen Hawking book. And then Vaccines on Trial. Love it. Another book.
But the China Uncovered, that one deals with COVID. Vaccines on Trial just deals with all vaccines in general.
Mm-hmm.
The unfortunate thing these days is that you know, even devotees, they are not trying, but they are so attached to the science, and to the point they put aside what the scriptures are saying about the universe and lives and medicine and everything. They're just like, oh no, science have a better, you know, it's up to date, and they have better, we can understand them better. They have so much faith in the science.
The thing is that these devotees who have faith in science, they think that the scientific explanation of the universe is relevant to their devotional service. But it's completely 100% irrelevant, has nothing to do with bhakti yoga, has nothing to do with purification of the heart, has nothing to do with establishing a relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So these persons who believe like this, as far as I can understand, they're not so much devotees as jnanis. There are many jnanis in our movement, but in the movement of bhakti yoga, but it's the jnanis who understand the intellectual side and the devotees who understand the devotional side. So for the devotees who are on the devotional path back home, back to Godhead, all these scientific things are completely irrelevant. Whereas for the jnanis, it seems to be very important, but it's a tangent. It's just sidetracking them, taking them down a dead-end path.
That is the unfortunate thing, because one of the things you pointed out before about the sciences, they speak in a way that is conclusive. However, you know, even in the research in my area of the health, you know, the research were like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and it's not conclusive. And then there's somebody else that comes and do the same or similar research, and also they don't have any conclusion about what they're talking about. Everything is changing. There is a new thing, there is a new method, there is a new outcome. And
right.
Still the bodies cannot understand. Science will never come to a conclusive evidence, never.
So the thing is this, what is the basic premise of bhakti yoga, spiritual devotional lifestyle? It's to accept the Guru and his explanation of the parampara as it is, and take that as your ultimate source of information. We have to surrender to the instructions of the Guru, because I was there in the room when Prabhupada said, I quote, "If I have any credit, it is only one thing," Prabhupada said. And that is, he said, that I delivered the parampara from Krishna to you as it is, without adding anything or without subtracting anything. And then Prabhupada gave an example. He says, when the government of a country sends a letter to the citizen's home, the postman does not open it up, change something, add something, subtract anything. He delivers it as it is. So Prabhupada said that I am the postman delivering the message from the Supreme Government, Krishna, to you, unadulterated as it is. That he says that is my one credit.
Mm.
Okay, I got two questions. First one is the moon landing, real or fake?
It's irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a photo of someone's house and you show it to someone, you ask them, which country is this? Which city is this? Which street is this? It's no information. It's just a picture of a house. So you see a photo of a contraption on some barren land. It doesn't give you any other information except a contraption on barren land. The whole thing is irrelevant. Why people buy that it's important for devotional service has nothing to do with devotional service. You can scrutinize every Shastra, and no Shastra will comment at all on any of this. They're only focused on purification, on developing a loving relationship with the Lord, serving the Vaishnavas, becoming pure in your thoughts, words, and deeds. That's what's relevant. Everything else is a distraction, leading you away from the goal. So this moon landing is another distraction, completely irrelevant, has nothing to do with the devotion of Krishna Prema that's going to manifest in my heart. How does it help in any way, shape, or form? What it does is it covers my heart, because now I'm thinking that Prabhupada didn't really have a clear conception, and I start doubting Srila Prabhupada. That is exactly against what Shastra says, that we have to have complete faith in the words that the pure devotee is bringing to us through the parampara system. And then we divide it into two sides. Well, he's perfect on spiritual sides, but not so perfect on the material side. But Prabhupada, I was there in the room when he said devotees don't have two agendas, a public and a private. Everything is devotional service. My business is devotional service. It's not that I have a material life and a spiritual life. I only have a spiritual life. And people just still don't understand that after 50 years of chanting Hare Krishna, which is an amazing thing. Obviously, they're not getting the result, which means they must be doing something wrong. And Shastra says that the two things that you do wrong, that you don't make advancement and surrender to the process of devotional service, are number one, sadhu ninda, criticizing the devotees, finding fault, who've dedicated their lives to propagating the holy name of the Lord. I see so much of that. And the second thing that destroys your devotional creeper is to be the 10th offense, to be inattentive while chanting and maintaining material attachments, even after hearing so many instructions on the matter. So by believing in science, you're maintaining material attachments and you're not hearing the holy name properly, because your mind is wandering all over the place. Your mind has become a time traveler, traveling to the past, traveling to the present, traveling to the future while you're chanting the holy name. It's a tremendous offense. And that's why people don't make advancement, because of these two offenses.
I have a question about this. You mentioned one of them is like criticizing devotees that are propagating the name of God, of Krishna. How about these so-called swamis? They've been deviating hardcore.
Well, why should you criticize them? You've never been given the service to criticize. That's number one. Second, you were never there to understand what really happened, what is the mindset of that person or anything. So, but there is someone who has been given that service, and that's Yamaraj, and he's been doing this service for millions of years. Yamaraj judges everyone. He makes sure that justice will be there. So I leave it to Yamaraj. He will take care. It's not my business. Bhakti Yoga teaches us to surrender to the process of devotional service and not to find fault in others. So why should I find fault in others? It's another distraction. It's another tangent. It has nothing to do with purifying my heart. And they say it's to protect the movement. Nowhere have I seen in Shastra that you protect the movement. You protect your devotional creeper. That's what you protect. Hare Krishna.
Jai. Just to push back on your point, Prabhu, if it's a I noticed there's a message on top of the China Uncovered Rise of the Dragon book saying, for the latest information on COVID-19 and vaccines, please visit the Centers for Disease and Control Prevention. They got like a warning message on there. But just to push back a little bit on that, what you're saying, it's a distraction. Okay, so why'd you write the books? Like, you've got like Cosmology, Stephen Hawking, Vaccines on Trial, Whole One China Uncovered. It's a big amount of energy to expend on that, and it's as you say, it's why not just chant Hare Krishna?
I was doing both. It's not one or the other. You do both at the same time. And writing these books was a service to protect the children of the Hare Krishna movement, so that parents would understand, don't vaccinate these innocent children with their young bodies with all these chemicals. And Cosmology on Trial, as I explained earlier, was a service to hand to the people who came to the TOVP to see our cosmological Vedic cosmology, and to let them know that the scientific cosmology is not so ironclad as they were brainwashed to believe. So these books are a service.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about the putting these vaccination clinics in ISKCON temples?
Well, what can I say? You know my position. I've already explained it. Other people have another understanding. But the thing is this: when I interfere with another living entity's progress in life, then there is a reaction, okay? There will be a reaction. So I'll give you an example. When on a morning walk in Los Angeles, when we were coming back to the temple through an alley, all of a sudden there was a noise coming from a big trash barrel. So Prabhupada walked over. It was an empty trash barrel. The trash had been taken out, but there was a rat. There was a rat at the bottom trying to get out, trying to escape. All you had to do to give the rat freedom was to tip that trash barrel over, and then he would run away. But Prabhupada didn't do that. He said, he is doomed. That's what Prabhupada said. He looked at the rat and he said, he is doomed, because he knew he'd never get out. Prabhupada didn't interfere in that life of that rat. So interfering in the life of people, making them, setting up that you believe that vaccines are okay, even though the parents may not believe it, and now we want to vaccinate their children. What power do you have? Who's given you any power over the children of some other family? I mean, this is not das anudas. Let me just tell you this. The constitutional position of every living entity, eternal constitutional position, is das anudas. In the spiritual world, you're das anudas. In the material world, you're das anudas. But when you're trying to convince people to do what you want to do, you're no longer das anudas. And the Sanskrit word for people who are not in their eternal constitutional position is Maya. So what do I think of that? I just repeat what the Shastra says. They're not in their constitutional position. It must be Maya.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty clear. So the interesting about Srila Prabhupada with the rat in the barrel and being like, not to interfere. There must be some, I don't know if you'd say exceptions to it or some further nuance to it, because like as a parent, you have children, you do have to do something. Like you got to teach them, discipline them, protect them in different ways.
Okay, so let me explain that. We can't compare an animal to a Vaishnava child. So the perfect example is Arundhati, who was one of the head pujaris at the Los Angeles temple in the early days. And after she got married, she got pregnant, and she was still going on the altar every day, right up until the last days of her pregnancy. And then she went and had to go to the hospital, and she bore her son. And then about a month later, she wrote to Srila Prabhupada saying, Srila Prabhupada, since I've had my child, it's so difficult. I can hardly find any time to go and do my service on the altar to the deities. And Prabhupada wrote back, and this is a famous letter, you can find it on the database. Prabhupada wrote back and said, now that you have your child is your deity. You focus on your child and you raise him to be a Vaishnava. Prabhupada didn't want her to go back and wave flowers and flames at the Murti of Krishna. He doesn't need that. But the most important thing was to raise her son to be a Vaishnava. So he said, now your child is your deity. We should understand that these children are Vaishnavas. They were born in Vaishnava families. And Vaishnava seva is more pleasing to Krishna than his direct seva. We should understand that. That's why in every holy dham in the world, they worship the Krishna or God, but there's only one holy dham where they worship the purest devotee, Radharani, and that's Sri Vrindavan Dham. In Vrindavan, we don't worship Krishna. We worship the pure devotee of Krishna, because Krishna says in so many different shastras that pleases him the most. It's clear.
Question. It is. Here's a question from Fenella, who's watching. She says, Prabhupada did not interfere to save the rat, but in India, when they were building a road and were going to cut down a tree, Prabhupada made them go around the tree. In this case, he did interfere to save the tree. I don't see the difference. Thank you for explaining, she says.
Okay. He saved the tree. There's a road where we live in Vrindavan on our way to our home where the tree is in the middle of the road. It's the same situation. It wasn't Prabhupada. This is a new road. But people protect trees because trees are very, very valuable. She doesn't see the difference in the value of a tree and the value of a rat. The rat hardly has any value, and a tree has tremendous value. So you have to have a system of priorities in spiritual life. We're not impersonalists, that everything's all on the same level. We have an idea that something is much more valuable than another thing. So a tree is much more valuable than a rat. So in Vrindavan, they'll try to save trees as much as possible. Whereas in the West, they'd cut that tree down in an instant, wouldn't even think twice about it. The road is more important. But in Vrindavan, the tree is more important than the road. That's the difference between Vrindavan consciousness and material consciousness.
I can see that it would be very impractical and make it very difficult if you went around, treating everything exactly the same, trees, rats, your children, that wouldn't really work. At the same time, though, in Bhagavad Gita, doesn't Krishna say to Arjuna that samadarshanaha, that sees things equally, the sage, humble sage sees alike the elephant, the dog eater, a brahmana.
Yeah, he says that in that shloka. And in another shloka,
exactly the same thing.
Yeah, in another shloka, he says, Samak sarveshu bhuteshu, I see everyone with equal vision. So this is repeated throughout the Gita. Krishna does see everything with equal vision. But he also says, Yeyatamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajam yaham. As I see you with equal vision, I also reciprocate with you accordingly. So he may see a non-devotee with equal vision as a devotee, but the non-devotee is not approaching Krishna, so Krishna doesn't approach him. He reciprocates accordingly or doesn't reciprocate accordingly. Whereas with the devotee who is approaching Krishna, Krishna does reciprocate. So people who have a poor fund of knowledge, when they see Krishna reciprocating with devotees and not reciprocating with non-devotees, they think that Krishna is partial and he doesn't see with equal vision. But that's not the case. He's just following his modus operandi. As you approach me, I reciprocate accordingly. So spiritual life is all about reciprocation. That's how we know we're making advancement in spiritual life, because we see the reciprocation of Krishna in our life. We see the hand of a God in our life, moment to moment to moment. Whereas the atheists, they don't see the hand of God moment to moment to moment. Because Krishna doesn't reciprocate with them, because he's responding to the way they approach, which is a zero approach. So he has a zero response. So for the atheist to conclude, since there's no response, there's no God, that's not a very strong argument. People in the Congo may say, because there's no snow in this country, therefore there's no snow anywhere in the world. It's a ridiculous argument. You can't come to any such conclusion. And all we have to do is tell people, chant Hare Krishna and see what the result. And this is what Prabhupada taught when he first joined the movement. When I first joined the movement and Prabhupada was preaching to us, spreading his movement all over the world, he said, just add Krishna to your life. He never said, give up meat eating, give up intoxication, no illicit sex, none of that stuff. He just said, add Krishna to your life. Whatever you're doing, just add Krishna to your life. And chant this mantra for a week or two and see what is the result. I'm not charging anything. I'm distributing it freely, so there's no loss. So only when people come to join our movement do we tell them, well, if you want to live in our temple, these are the rules. Otherwise, you don't mention these things. You only ask people to add, because people they don't mind adding in their life. They don't like subtracting. So Prabhupada knew how to preach, and he spread in 10 years all over the world by just getting people to add Krishna to their life, because he knew by chanting Hare Krishna, they would become purified and they would give up these things automatically by themselves. And that's positive. That's powerful, because when people come to their own conclusion rather than being told, they say, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. That's a conclusion I came to. I was, I had bad habits, but I came to the realization that this is not taking me where I want to go, and I'm not interested in this anymore. And I had my own conviction, and once I joined the temple, I never thought about these things ever again.
That was the approach we took at the Freedom Village in Wellington during the Parliament occupation, just chanting Hare Krishna, and not even getting other people to chant Hare Krishna, just giving them the opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. And people took to it. And then in the layout there, you had our Krishna temple there had no walls on it. And then the Parliament garden itself had walls around it. And then there was like prasadam distribution going on there. And then there was another kitchen outside where they were cooking meat there, and people, so there were people eating meat. And then further out, much further out in the suburbs, because the protesters took over multiple blocks, city blocks. So then further out, people who were living in tents down there, they were drinking alcohol. So it was kind of like from the temple, it was like vegetarian. Then there were people who were eating meat, and then there were people who were drinking alcohol. And it was kind of like a zoned kind of thing. And as I was there looking, I was like, this seems like how a Vedic civilization or a Vedic city would work. We have these different zones, and different things can happen in different zones, and everyone chants Hare Krishna.
Well, what an interesting point is, when I was watching the film, so they showed where the non-veg people were eating and they were cooking and then serving out sausages. And when they showed that in the film, no one applauded or no one said anything. But when they showed the Hare Krishnas, Buddhi Manta distributing prasadam, people applauded and they went, "Yay!" But they didn't
I
do
didn't
that
notice
when
that.
Yeah,
yeah,
they
they
did.
didn't do
Yeah.
that when they were distributing the sausages. So people understand. Some people on a deeper level, they understand that prasadam is different, you know.
Mm.
And but in a Vedic model, yeah, there's no force. That's one thing that Prabhupada taught me. Love means no force. That's why Krishna does not force us. He has so much love for us. Everything is voluntary. So in the Vedic system, what you eat is voluntary. How you dress is voluntary. What you do is voluntary. It's your decision, your choice. For 13 years, the Pandavas were not vegetarian. They may not even have been vegetarian when they were living in their palaces, but they certainly weren't vegetarian when they were hunting. So, but that's not the important point. Because I remember Prabhupada saying one time, he said, "Never mind that people are eating meat. If they were happy, I wouldn't push on this point. But they're not happy. Therefore, I am stressing this point."
Wow.
So I could understand from that, Prabhupada, as a pure devotee and other pure devotees, they want to see people happy. Why? Because they love people. When you have a child, all you want to do is to see your child happy. Your child is happy, you're happy. They're not happy, you're not happy. That's the meaning of love. That's the meaning of relationship. That's the meaning of reciprocation in a loving relationship. So the spiritual master, he has that with all sorts of people. That's how I understood when Prabhupada said, "Never mind if they're eating meat. If they were happy, I wouldn't push this point. But they're not happy. Therefore, I'm stressing this."
Wow.
Mm.
It's powerful. I never heard that before. He's definitely not attached to vegetarianism as an ideology.
Yeah, and also Lord Jesus didn't stress it either. And Prabhupada also said, when they asked Prabhupada, what should we say in the Bhagavad Gita when we translate it into Arabic, where it says Sri Krishna Uvacha, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead Uvacha? Prabhupada said, just say Allah Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Allah said.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh dear.
Prabhupada said, you be a better, he said, I didn't come here to convert people to Krishna. I just wanted people to accept God in their lives. So if you're a Christian, be a better Christian. If you're a Muslim, be a better Muslim. If you're a Hindu, be a better Hindu. Be a genuine Hindu. Be a real Hindu. And for us, we love Krishna, but we don't force other people towards Krishna. We just want to inspire them to surrender to God and to love their idea of God, whatever their idea of God is. So I know these things because I was there. I was there when Prabhupada was here. I heard him. I was at so many classes, so many darshans. I was in India for 3 years with Srila Prabhupada. Not traveling with him, but, wherever he went to a temple, I was on a traveling Sankirtan. We'd drive to that temple where Prabhupada was. Wherever Prabhupada was, we would drive there. We would, so perhaps we got more of an opportunity to hear from Prabhupada than other people. Just for example, in Juhu Temple in 1976, one Sunday, many Indian ladies and gentlemen came. And then Prabhupada announced, well, today, because we have so many guests, I'm going to speak in Hindi. So I didn't know Hindi. So I got up to leave. And Prabhupada said, no, please stay. Even though you don't understand the language, the sound vibration is purifying. So I sat down and listened and became purified. So the sound vibration is what's the purifying, and what we have to do is to allow that sound vibration to enter into our consciousness, and then we will act as Vaishnavas.
There is a different approach of Srila Prabhupada, He just wants people to be happy. and not to force, because in different religions we have this idea of like, or they have this idea of like, you need to be Christian, Jesus is the only God and there's nothing else, and other religions, they put a lot of emphasis in there, like, and Srila Prabhupada is like, we don't want to push you to, to be Hare Krishna, just love God, your God.
Right. So you can see the difference between the mood of the pure devotee and the mood of the fanatics. The most fanatic people, that if you don't accept our religion, we will kill you, or we will convert you by force. Yeah, but love means no force. So obviously these people, they don't have any love. They're converting people without any love. The Christians who come to India, the missionaries to convert the Hindus into Christians, they go to the poorest communities, the tribal people, and they pay them money. And they say, we'll educate your children in our Christian schools. And before they give them their money, they put pictures of Ram and Krishna on the floor, and you have to trample on them with your feet. Then you give you the money. Yeah, to prove that you've now given it up and you've accepted, Christian religion instead. And those poor people, they do it just to get the money, and they think their children will get a better education. But the Christian missionaries are intelligent. They don't really care about the parents. They just care about the children. We're going to brainwash the children, because when they grow up, they're locked in, hook, line, and sinker to Christianity. And Manipur used to be a Vaishnava kingdom. It's no longer, because there's more Christians than there are Vaishnavas in Manipur. This is going on in India.
They're very clever. Yeah, these people were very clever. Even like the Spanish people came to Peru. They forced them to be Catholic. They forced them to pray to them and nothing else, their beliefs and everything. If they didn't do it, they were killed.
Yeah, that's the modus operandi. Sorry?
That's not love. That's not not love at all.
Yeah. So an intelligent person judges by the result. This is another thing Prabhupada taught me. Palena parichiyate. You want to understand something, you judge by the result. You look at the result, then you'll know if something is bona fide or bogus.
Counterpoint to that, I also read where Srila Prabhupada was saying in a conversation, he said, just like the Muslims, they spread the Quran, with the sword. He said, we can do much better than that. We're going to go around and we're going to be like, do you believe that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead? No, bang. And that way we're going to do it even more hardcore than they did. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that I never heard or read, but what I did hear and what I did read was Prabhupada said, just as Christianity was spread by the symbol of the cross, we'll spread our Hare Krishna understanding, the Vaishnava understanding, by the symbol of Lord Jagannath. That he said, and he established the Rath Yatra. I didn't hear about the other thing because I didn't even read that. If you read that, please send me the reference, because I can't comment. I can't comment on something unless I see its context. Every statement has to be as part of a context, and you comment on the context, not on a statement that removed from the context.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll pull it out and send it over to you.
Fair enough.
Do you have another question you wanted to ask?
No.
Is there anything that you particularly wanted to talk about, Prabhu? Those were the things that I wanted to talk about: the movie, the books that you've written, and how they all fit together. And well, here's one other question for you, actually. Do you have any plans to write another book at the moment, or any thoughts about what you might tackle next?
Well, yeah, I'm through tackling these other subjects like cosmology. I did it for the TOVP, and the vaccines, I did it for the children. but I'm now just focused on my spiritual life at 80 years of age. My time is coming to an end, and I really have to focus now. So all I'm going to be writing about is the Sankirtan movement. That's all. Glorifying the devotees, glorifying the Lord, glorifying Prabhupada. That will be my focus from now on.
Nectar. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your service, your many decades, and particularly for writing those books. They're a great contribution. Isabella, our daughter, she read, what was the first book she read? Oh, You're Ever Well Wisher, which is the summary of the Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita. Then she read Ayendra Kirtan Revolutionary. She's reading that. So she reads one kind of Leela book and one serious book, she calls it, at the same time. So she finished the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Now she's doing the Bhagavatam. And then beside that, she read You're Ever Well Wisher, Ayendra Kirtan Revolutionary. And now she's going to start on the Radha Damodar Vilas, the inner life of Vishnujana, Swami, and Jayananda Thakura. I remember when I first read that book, I was like, we read that book, we were like, okay, take all the doors off the cupboards in the ashram, because Vishnujana Swami took all the doors off the cupboards in the ashram. So we were like, okay, let's do that. So we took all the doors off the ashram. When we moved out, we had to put them back on, but we couldn't find the hinges. So pro tip, if you do that, you should put the hinges somewhere where you can find them. But at that time, I was like, you know what? If I was like stuck on a desert island somewhere and I had only one book, it would be this book. Because this book is like the perfect synthesis of the philosophy, but it captures the mood and the spirit of the moment and of Vishnujana. Just absolutely epic.
So the reason I wrote this book, my focus was, I was thinking, how would Steven Spielberg do this as a film? So I tried to visualize and see everything as I was writing it. And my target audience, because every book has to have a target audience, my target audience was devotees 100 years from now, because I had no idea where ISKCON would be, what changes had gone down, what the mood was. So I want to present what was the mood of Prabhupada, what was the mood of the Vaishnavas. Sorry?
Have you gone on mute on your... no, that was us here.
Ah.
Our headphones came off.
Should I repeat that?
Please,
so my target audience, my target audience was devotees for 100 years from now, so that they could understand what was the mood of Srila Prabhupada, the mood of the devotees, why they joined, how they glorified each other, so they could understand what was the original mood that Prabhupada brought, so that if we had gone off the track, we could come back to that original mood. So that was the reason for writing that book. And it's all about glorifying the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, you've captured the mood in there. You can reboot the movement from that book.
I want to read that book.
Yeah,
good.
Let's read it together.
Yeah. It's all about
so
the movement.
let's wind.
You said it was
So
a
let's
trilogy.
wind this one.
Yeah, but I can only find two
right.
books online. Where's the third book? Even on your website, I went to your website, kirtan.org.
Well, yeah, 2 books have been published. The third book is a work in progress. It'll be published soon. But it's the most difficult. It's the most difficult work, because everything has to be exactly right on, just like Shastra. And it's a tragedy, because Vishnujana Maharaj leaves the planet. Jayananda Thakur leaves the planet. Srila Prabhupada leaves the planet. It's a tragedy. So the first 2 volumes is really ecstatic and blissful, but it's going to bring tears to people's eyes, the second one. So I have to handle it very gently, very sensitively. So it's taking longer, but it'll come out.
Okay.
I mean, it's already 50% done. All I have to do is fine tune it now. I have to just turn it into what's the word? An adventure story, a drama, a dramatic, reality. So instead of just a series of facts, I have to turn it into a story, weaving the emotions and everything, and the experiences that people were having, and everything. I have to weave it in a way that it becomes a story rather than just a series of facts. Right now, I just have the facts, so I have to turn it into a story.
Okay, you're definitely the man for the job. The creating the rasas and the entire experience of it, capturing the bhava. I mean, it says the inner life of Vishnujana and Jayananda Thakura. It captures and transmits the bhava of their lila.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
So,
Krishna.
so maybe now you want to bring in Kishori.
Yeah,
Let's
let's
do
tag
that.
in Kishori Devi.
So let's wind this one up and start fresh with her, okay?
Okay, yeah, sure.
Good idea.
I'll let Dana take the lead on this
Oh,
next
my
one.
God.
Okay.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very
Hare
much. Srila
Krishna, thank you so
Prabhupada.
much, Guru. Ki
Srila
Jai.
Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ya. ¿De qué hablamos, mi amor?
I don't know. It's lo que quieres tú.
Kishori.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a new uncharted territory. If you've got questions, Vanilla says thank you for your talk. If you've got questions for Kishori, drop them in the chat.
For all the Madajis.
Yep.
All the
Yeah, I'll
days.
change the name to Kishori Devi. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Kishori's coming. You have to put her name down because right now it's my name.
I changed it
I
just
changed
now.
it.
Perfect. So yeah, you can get Radha Damodar Vilas hard copy from kirtan.org, which is Vaiyasaski Prabhu's website.
Yeah, when you read those.
Oh
those
yeah,
books.
I remember when I got the book is like it's incredible. It's a, get 'em.
Perfect.
Let me put on the headphones. Hello.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
English episode or Spanish episode?
As you wish. I'm
either.
comfortable with both. Yeah. Either one is fine.
Well, I think our viewers right now speak
It's an
English.
English. Yeah. Okay. Let's
Okay.
do it in
Another time we can
English.
do one in Espanol.
Yeah.
So let's do it in English and we can do another one in Spanish another day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do
perfecto.
that. Yeah. Okay. Pregunta.
Okay. Let's start with the movie. First of all, thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for coming to New Zealand.
Mhm.
Australia missed
Oh.
out. That's Krishna's arrangement.
I love the movie. I thought that you guys were heroes. I was really, really proud of you because at the critical hour, you were there chanting and distributing prasad. And I think this is like the core of the movement. And you were doing exactly what you were supposed to be doing. So congratulations on being such heroes, really.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I made a joke. I bought a T-shirt there. It says River of Freedom, and it has the duck on it. And I took a photo of myself, and I said, I went to Parliament and chanted the holy names of God for 21 days, and all I got was this T-shirt. And a full-length documentary movie in cinemas nationwide. But it's a joke, and the thing about it is it's kind of like the gift that keeps on giving, because not only did those things come out of it, and that's like making a difference in the world, and it's the kind of difference that I'm committed to making in the world. But then just for me personally, that's where we met in the kirtan.
Oh,
there.
what a gift.
Oh yeah. And
What
so
a
I
gift.
walked away with a wife and a new daughter and
And a beautiful
yeah.
family.
yeah. And so it was just incredible. It's kind of like people can say like, oh, you know, you shouldn't do that. It was the wrong thing to do, anything like that. But like on
It
so
was the
many
right
levels,
thing to do on so many levels. You did the right thing. And every time the devotees were on that film, like the people were just cheering. It was like they still remember the energy that you brought to that place. You completely lifted the energy. Of course, there was like everybody was there for the right reason, but you guys, you brought in the spiritual energy and you completely transformed that protest. And I think part of the success was your presence and the fact that you were blessed with each other and with a beautiful family. I just think that what a gift. You were blessed,
yeah.
certainly blessed by God,
Yes.
by Krishna.
Yeah, the thing is, you know, when you do things that Srila Prabhupada instructed you to do or us to do, you know, just give the love of God to anyone, anywhere, anytime. You don't know what God is going to do.
Of
You
course.
just need to live at the mercy of Krishna. And talking about the meeting of us, you know, it has been, ¿cómo se dice esto?
In español,
Predecido?
predicted.
Predicted. Okay.
It was destiny,
was
obviously.
predicted. Yeah. So because before, oh my gosh, this thing is falling off. Oh here. You know, a friend of mine, which he's a pandit, you know, he mentioned to me, you will meet someone in an event.
Oh,
Someone that an event that you are doing quite in a similar event that you guys are doing. I was like, oh, okay, doesn't matter. I just let it slip. But I never knew that that event was going to be here.
it
And
wasn't been
it
a
was,
month. Yeah.
yeah, it was predicted. And you know, when God wants things to happen, it will happen. Doesn't matter
It
how
will
much
happen.
resistance you put or how
Yes.
much like you're crazy about it, it will happen on the right
Yes.
time. There is nothing perfect like that Krishna's arrangement.
And I was really happy to see you both because like your families just became a powerhouse. It's like the union of the two of you, I think is such a blessing for your communities and like, obviously for all of you involved. But I really saw how good you both are for each other. And your children are amazing. And you have cows. And you were
Yeah.
showing me like your pictures and like you're just so blessed. And I'm very happy for both of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, next time you come, you'll have to come and visit us here.
Mm.
We'll create a
Yeah,
program.
Hopefully by
that would
then
be
the
lovely.
cows will have milk.
Even if they don't have, I still would love to meet them. They're so cute. And you know,
Yeah.
like you're so exemplary in every single way. Not only you were there at the critical hour at the protest, but you're also working on having land and cows and growing your food. So, I mean, you guys are amazing.
Yeah, I never saw that. I didn't know what was going to happen after the protest. I just
Yeah,
went to that protest, you know. I don't know if you met Param Satya when you came to Australia
I
last
did. Yeah,
time.
I did. I did. I
Yeah, so
remember her. She was lovely.
she left her body in November, just before
Yeah,
so the
I
protest
heard.
happened in February. She left in
Wow.
November. And I was like, okay, well
Wow.
that's the end of my Leela then. So now there's nothing
No.
left for me to do except to go
Oh
into the
no.
forest and embrace death and rely on Krishna. So I went to that protest literally with nothing to lose. You know, I had nothing. I was like, that's it. It's like my life is now empty. It's finished. So I was there and I was like, there's no going back for me. I've got nothing to go back to. So I didn't lose my job and the mandates or my business like people did there. But Krishna put me into a similar situation where I just had like nothing. I got nothing.
Emotionally. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, I'm just here and I'm just going to chant Hare Krishna and there's nothing else. And that was a real blessing that he created my character in that way that I could go there and just be like fully like let everything burn down around me and my body burn to ashes with it, chanting Hare
Wow.
Krishna. And that's how I
Wow.
was. I had no idea of what would there was no future for me to live into. I remember when
Wow.
when you came to Australia, was 2011, I think.
Yeah,
It
2011.
was
Yeah.
it was right after Prahlad got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes,
I
and
actually was there when he got diagnosed. I remember when you were putting the first insulin into his stomach, and I was just shocked
Oh
by the
my.
whole thing. Yeah, I was right
Wow.
there. And in fact, when I saw Prahlad, that was one of the first things I asked him. I said, "How are you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm still doing it. It's for life." And he looks really healthy though, so I'm glad you guys have
Mhm.
managed it. Yeah, but go ahead, please. I interrupted you.
yeah, no, that's okay. And then and Param had been diagnosed with like stage 3 breast cancer, and they were like, she's gonna
Wow.
die like any moment. And
Wow.
I remember I was driving Prabhu down to the Gold Coast, and we're driving, and he said to me, "So where do you see yourself in 5 years? Like, what's your vision for your
Right.
future?" And I
Right.
was just like, I'm just like at the moment hoping that my son and my wife are still alive tomorrow morning. Like, I
Wow.
have no vision for 5 years into the future. And
Right.
then over time, I was able to develop some more vision. We came to terms with things, but I was again in that same place where I had no vision for the future anymore. It had gone down to like nothing.
Wow.
And to see
Wow.
what my life looks like now, like living in this country town, growing, composting, digging in the earthworms, collecting cow manure and sticking it into piles and brushing the cows, feeding the chickens, trading
Beautiful.
eggs for milk with people. Like, I had no idea it would look anything like this, because it was all inner city preaching for
I
like
remember.
20 odd years. Inner city
Yes.
preaching, going to yoga studios, doing kirtan festivals at temples. Now it's like a completely different world.
Wow. And
Yeah.
isn't that beautiful? Like you don't know the future, but like Krishna just unfolds everything right before our eyes. And that's when we have to trust life. Because even if we have an idea of what we want to do or how we envision ourselves, at the end of the day, is like Krishna is in charge. And just to see how everything unfolds and how his mercy comes through every single time. That's the beauty.
Mm.
And that's a powerful story in itself.
Mm.
How even though we have no idea what's going to happen, everything works for us. Everything.
Everything is perfect for
Yeah,
Krishna.
it is perfect. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Even getting your ticket and everything to come over on this tour was like that.
It was crazy. It was insane. I don't think I've ever had so much anxiety about a visa in my life, because the previous times that I came to Australia, it was easy. It's like within a week I always had it. And all of a sudden it's like there was this delay because of the biometrics, and because India was not on the biometrics program, I couldn't do it there. So that was the whole delay. It was just a matter of getting those fingerprints and my pictures and everything. So as soon as I did it, when I arrived to New Zealand, it was like within a few days it was there. So
Were you living in India in
yes,
2011 when you came?
yes, I think so. We had just
Okay.
moved in.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Huh. So you've been living in
Yes.
India now for like 12
Yes.
years or
So in
so.
Vrindavan.
I love that.
Yes.
In
Yes,
Vrindavan.
quite a lot
Beautiful.
in Vrindavan. Yes. It's a
Wow.
wonderful place.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
It is.
we're planning to go to India next year. That's my my
Yeah, we'll come
whole
and visit you.
Yes,
my whole
please.
Yeah. If you're at home, because you travel a lot.
mm.
Well, you let us know in advance when you plan to be there so that we can all make plans to meet there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure.
Yeah, I
It'd
would
be
love
nice.
to see you in Vrindavan. That would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll do the parikram together.
Yes. Yes. Govardhan
How
Parikram
much?
especially.
Sorry, how much
Yeah.
traveling do you do? How often are you in Vrindavan, and how much are you traveling around the world?
Well, it changed because before the pandemic, it was like almost all the time. It was at least 8 months out of the year. And then we reduced it to 6 months in Vrindavan, 6 months traveling. And then the pandemic happened. So we were in Vrindavan the whole time. And it was the most beautiful time to be there. It was such special mercy to see the dam completely empty, only birds and cows, and the Jamuna cleaned itself. We were swimming every day in the Jamuna. It was crystal clear, blue, just the way it's described in Shastra. It was beautiful.
Wow.
And then we started traveling again, but not like before, like all the time nonstop. So we came here to New Zealand, and we're going back to Vrindavan, and then we were in Russia before, and then again back to Vrindavan, and like that. So now it's the travel is still there, but not constant,
Yeah. Mm.
which works. It's actually nice. I enjoy it
bet.
a lot more. Yes.
Yeah. Because sometimes traveling can be exciting and exhausting. And sometimes having a little bit of a break, it's, rejuvenating.
I didn't know how to be in one place. The pandemic forced me to be in one place.
Okay,
I was
yeah.
bored. As soon as we were in a place like 2 weeks, I was like, my mind was ready for the next. Like I just didn't even know how to land and just be in one place and enjoy
Yeah.
it. That didn't exist in my mind. And the pandemic taught me how to be in one place and enjoy being in one place. And yeah, that was awesome actually.
Yeah.
And I
And how have
still
you
love to
seen-
travel. I still love to travel, and I love the excitement of going out and doing programs and everything. But yeah, we all have something to learn in life, and I think at this point, it's like Krishna is like, you need to learn to relax.
Yeah. Mm.
And how have things changed? Because you travel, obviously you travel a lot. You've traveled a lot. You've seen a lot of the world. Like for most people, they kind of like see a small slice. Maybe they travel a little bit and they read about things in the news, but they never see them kind of firsthand. But you
Right.
must have like quite a good picture of like a before and after of the pandemic and like what's happening around the world. What kind of things have you noticed?
I notice how people are controlled by fear. I think
Okay.
that this whole pandemic, what it brought out was people's fear of death.
Mm.
And I just thought it was very interesting because as devotees, that's Bhagavad Gita 101. We're not the body and we're all going to die. That is just like the most basic thing that our philosophy is offering us. And just it was very interesting for me to see how fearful people were of death. Even devotees, people who are practicing, devotional service and developing a relationship with Krishna, how unprepared they were in the face of death. So that was interesting. That was a good reflection. It's like, okay, we all know we're going to die. It's going to be sooner or later. And it can be unexpected. It can be at any moment. Are we ready? It can be in the form of a pandemic. It can be in the form of anything. But, like we shouldn't be fearful. We should actually be completely at the mercy of Krishna. Because we
That's
know
what,
that everything that happens, everything is mercy. And if it's our time, there's nothing we can do to stop that. And if it's not our time, there's nothing that can happen that can make you go. It works both ways. You can be in the middle of like the worst pandemic, and if it's not your time, you're not going to die. But if it's your time, are you ready?
Yeah, there is a mantra.
Mare Krishna.
Mare Krishna, Rake Krishna,
Right.
Mare. So yeah. When
Yes.
Krishna wants you to go,
No one can save you.
not even
No,
your
but-
injection will stop you.
Of
Perhaps
course.
the injection is going to let you go. Like this is your say goodbye last thing. Quite unfortunate. And the other thing is like some people, of course, some devotees have developed more like the attachment to Krishna because doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter how much money, how much fame, or beauty, or whatever you have. But nothing can stop the moment that your life is taken. Nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And developing that faith, that strong faith in Krishna. I say, Krishna, you know what? Do as you please.
Yes, exactly.
And the fear cut them. The fear made them go like all crazy. They were more into like the science can save me, and the doctors can have a better idea what's my life, and they care about me, or even the gurus.
Right.
You see, it's like
Right. one thing that for me was very important is like when the pandemic started and like all these things were going on and the fear and everything, I just took a conscious decision. I'm not going to be part of this. It's like I am not going to allow this to take over my consciousness. So I cut all that information. Like for me, it's like, okay, right now I'm in Brindavan. What a blessing to be here at this time. And I'm just going to focus my mind on things that are productive and happy and with hope for the future, and just trying to do something amazing while I'm here and really take advantage of being in the dam. That was for me the priority. And I'm like, and everything that happens in the world is beyond my control anyway. So it's not like if I get into it and like study it and know all the problem, somehow or other I can escape it. No. So I just consciously took that decision. I want nothing to do with this. This is not even my reality. I just completely block all of that. And I had a great time in Vrindavan. It was actually the best time. And
It literally was like that, wasn't it? It was like if you ignored everything that they were telling you and you just went outside and had a look, you were just like, there's literally nothing happening here. It was all mind control. It's not even like seeing is believing. It was if you just were based on pratyaksha, like only what I see, it's like nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed.
Around me, nothing.
Especially in Vrindavan, it was awesome. Like people that were coming from Delhi, they just couldn't believe. Nobody was wearing masks. Nobody was talking about any. But it's like, you guys live in an alternative reality, and we were just like, yeah, rather. Temples were open like usual. We were just going, taking darshan, and just having a good time and enjoying the dam. Especially seeing it in such a pristine condition. Not so many tourists, not people coming. So I think that we just made the best out of the situation, and we were very happy. We were very, very happy during the pandemic.
Sounds like a real blessing.
Yeah,
it was a real blessing.
Similar.
Yes,
it was quite similar here for me in the city. When you go to work, you have to go like 15 minutes, just a few blocks away. And the traffic every morning or every evening, the traffic. But when the pandemic was on, basically it was quite quiet. So the only people could be moving was people that were going to work, which means like the doctors or nurses or teachers. Well, actually teachers went because the students were not allowed to go to school. They were mostly at home. So, you can go to work in 2 minutes, come back, it's all like empty. You go to the supermarket, you show your credential, and they let you go in. You don't have to wait in the queue. And then you see for other people, they're queuing up a huge amount of queues, lots of people there. And then it's like, wow, this is awesome because I have the access, the easy access now to the supermarkets. Yeah, it would be way better to be in Vrindavan for sure.
But I think that it comes to a choice, in everything that happens in life, we always have the choice to be happy no matter what. And not to be controlled by external circumstances. We do have that freedom that is within us. And I think that's our strength. That's the real strength that every single human being has, that no matter what's happening externally, our internal world is a lot more important.
And what about since the pandemic is finished and then going back out into the world traveling, do you notice anything different about how people are or what's happening in the different parts of the world that you've been to? I know you've been to Russia, Australia, and New Zealand. I'm not sure where else you've been since the pandemic.
Well, we went to Europe, and I've been to America, Mexico. Things look pretty normal to me now. At least when we were in Russia, it was amazing. It was just beautiful programs. It was like nothing ever happened. It's crazy. It's like nothing ever happened. Maybe
crazy moment and then back to normal.
Back to normal. It's like nothing ever happened. I think people were a little bit more, I would say 2021, when we started traveling again. That's when people were still a little like freaking out, I remember because I came to Mexico City, I had to renew my Indian visa because that's when everything opened up. and we had stayed in India like nonstop for such a long time, and I had to go and renew my visa. And I remember coming to Mexico City, and everybody was paranoid about wearing the mask, and I just had come from 2 years of lockdown in Brindavan, not wearing masks, so I was not used to all these things, and people with like sterilizing everything and like wear this mask and like freaking out. I was just like, these people are weird, but like they didn't understand that I was so free and so careless a little bit because I was just being normal. And they were like, you have to wear the mask and you have to do this. And I was like, chill, like I'm healthy, everything's fine. And so that's the only time that I noticed, like, how much people were on edge. But that has disappeared. Like that's no longer happening.
We still see
Yeah.
people here wearing masks. They are walking on the streets wearing masks. Like you're not even talking to a person next to you.
Yeah. I never liked it. I need oxygen, like I breathe air.
Yeah.
I need it. So I never really got into it. I mean, just a few times, maybe.
I was never like I never really had a problem with people wearing masks or anything, but the thing that concerned me, that I was even if I was scared of anything, it was like these people will do whatever they're told to do and like become like fanatical about it with no evidence. I'm like, this is a bit scary because all they need to do now, and they started talking about the unvaccinated, and I was like, all they need to do is tell these people to like hunt us down, and they're probably going to do it. Like that, I found a little bit scary.
Yeah. I did feel that from people. They really bought the whole narrative, and as you say, they were a little fanatical about it. And that's where you can see is like how easily people are controlled by fear. And they know how to use their arguments. It's like, they sound very convincing sometimes but I think that everybody has the freedom to choose for themselves what works and what doesn't. And that's a power that nobody can take away from you. It's like if somebody wants to buy that narrative, let it be, so be it. It's their choice, it's their life. We all are responsible for the consequences of our actions. So if they feel that that's the safest path for them, let it be. But that doesn't mean that you're going to impose upon me your decisions. I also have the right to choose. And if I don't want to be part of that narrative, it's also my choice. And if I'm right, I'm right. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I will face the consequences of my actions as well. So I think that was like, for me, is like, how much do we really respect people's freedom of choice? Because now, like at that time, it really seemed like there was only one way and like you can't choose anything else. And that's where it gets scary.
Yeah.
Scary for them. Like I was actually looking at them like, okay, fine. But I felt bad for them more than for me.
Yeah.
There is a risk in there because I know these people are they bought into the
narrative,
and they have this absolute conviction what they're doing is the right thing, and what they're saying to them to follow is the right thing. Anything else, a part of that is a danger for them. And we are, by myself in my workplace, although they meant to be doing research and according to that have your critical thinking and act on that, and also you have the legal aspect of your work towards your clients or patients, they could not register it. And if you are against that, or you have your own opinion and your own, of course, my own self, like I have my own mind, my own decisions, and so, but they buy into so much, they feel so angry, and they just like speak to you in a way, it's like, you putting in danger this person, you putting in danger my life. Like they get so crazy about it.
It became non-scientific and it became non-Krishna conscious philosophy. Like it was like faith in material scientists, and they're not even like actual science. Like it's like
Right.
they're telling us to do things, and they're saying these things that are not scientifically even possible for them to know as facts. It's
Right.
crazy. I don't
It
get
was
it.
crazy.
And,
Right.
and like for devotees
Well,
to
do
go
you know
full
what?
on into it.
Do you know what they said? I heard this in America. Somebody told me that the whole pandemic was an intelligence test.
Yeah,
Sad to say that. Yeah.
it
It's
was.
sad to say it
Mm.
was. It
And it was
was.
a loyalty test. Like the thing
Yeah.
that the most shocking thing to me was ISKCON leaders putting out a policy saying that if you do Harinam or wear devotional clothes or distribute prasadam or books in a protest without getting official permission, you can face sanctions. I was just like, this is absolutely crazy. Like,
That's
this is
crazy.
really off the deep end.
But you know what? Like, I think that documentary, what it's showing is like you guys were on the right side. You
Yeah.
guys were on the side of Dharma, and you guys were on the side of, doing exactly what you were called to do at the critical hour, which was chanting the holy names and distributing prasad. I don't see anything wrong with it.
How can there
You
be anything
were
wrong? That's
actually
like,
heroes. It's like
it's
you were on the
always the
right
right
side.
thing to do. It's
Yes,
always the right thing to
always the
do.
right thing to do. Yes.
I don't know what is the logical kind of thinking chain where you come to the conclusion at the end and then you're like, don't chant Hare Krishna and punish the devotees who do. I'm like, how do you arrive at, you talked about Bhagavad Gita 101. It's like you go to the back of the book and in the answers section, it says the answer is chant Hare Krishna. I mean,
Oh, Krishna.
everyone, like, I know that's like, how do they come to the conclusion, don't chant Hare Krishna, punish the devotees who do chant Hare Krishna, and that's an acceptable answer? Like, I still can't get my head around how they could arrive at that. It's crazy.
Well, at the end of the day, I think that it was also like a test for all of us where we are at. And I think it just surfaced, everything surfaced, where everybody's at and where everybody comes from. And of course, we cannot judge because at the end of the day, we're not in the shoes of all these people who made those choices. So I cannot really judge where they're coming from. But at the end of the day, it's like, to me, the essence of the philosophy is very clear. And if you're not going to do that and you're going to just play into the fear, I think that there's a lot of spiritual introspection that you need to do where you're at in your life and like why you are reacting or taking decisions that are completely based on fear. Because like at the end of the day, if we don't trust Krishna, we don't trust anybody. If we don't have a spiritual conviction, we don't have a spiritual backbone. You know what I mean? We have to learn to trust life and to learn to trust Krishna and to learn to accept that if our end is coming, either man-made or pandemic or, because it's our time or whatever it is, that we have at least that connection that we know that whatever happens, we're in good hands. We're going to a good place anyway,
Yeah. As long we chant. Yeah.
Yeah. As long as you have that connection, there's nothing to fear. Nothing. It doesn't matter what's going on. It's like at the end of the day, it's like, oh well, if it's our time, it's our time, and you'll be fine in the next life. Hopefully in a much better place.
With a devotee family. I think you mentioned something, people are probably they're not sure where they're coming from and how they been in that way. And I think the answer isn't like the fear, because fear makes you do things. Fear
When
blocks
you
the intelligence.
Yes. Fear is like, to me, is like the greatest enemy. Because as soon as you are living and taking decisions of fear, your brain is your frontal cortex is no longer working. It's just like the instinct that's kicking in. It's like just like the
Survival.
animals.
Yeah.
It's like you're not really taking decisions based on consciousness, what's good for you or what is not good for you. and just assessing the situation for what it is you're being completely controlled, and we cannot live on that energy of fear. That's, to
Never.
me, that's one of the greatest enemies in life. You know, forget about fear. And even if you have fear, learn how to get out of it. Learn to snap out of it, and access higher energies, more like trust. And I think this is a muscle that we all have to develop, getting out of our comfort zone and getting us like, okay, like you saying, there's nothing to lose anymore. We can only trust that Krishna is always guiding and protecting us, and he's always going to have our backs no matter what. And I'd rather be in that energy field and in that uh, thought process than being completely on the other side and just fearing for everything, because it's not good anyway. It doesn't lead you anywhere.
Mm.
It's interesting what you say, because when I look back at it, there was a series of smaller protests that led up to the big one in Wellington, all over the country. And we were in Auckland, and we were in lockdown there for quite a lot. And then we would go to all of the smaller protests and do Harinam there. And I got a speaking slot at one of them in 2020.
Nice.
And I remember just freaking out. I was freaking out about it. Another devotee came. He wore like camouflage face paint on his face, so his face couldn't be digitally recognized. And because we had no idea what was happening, I was like, this is obviously an overreaction to if I go outside, I don't see people dropping dead or nothing like that going on. So
Right,
something else is going on here. Like, we're being locked in our houses. And I was like, dude, what are they getting ready to do here? Like, what is going on? I was freaking out. And I was like, am I going to go on a list? Like, if I stand up there in front of everyone and like say this, what's going to happen to me? And I just remember just going like, right now, I'm like, I'm paralyzed by fear and concern. And I just remembered that verse from Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, the Vedas deal with the three modes of material nature. And he says, be transcendental to concerns for gain and safety.
Wow.
And I was like, that's where I am right now. I'm inside a concern for gain and for safety, and I've got to step outside that, like you're saying about going outside your comfort zone. I'm like, okay, I have to be transcendental to concerns for gain and safety, like just repeating it over and over to myself. I'm like, I'm definitely not feeling it, but okay. The Bhagavad Gita says, Krishna says I have to be transcendental to, okay, I'm going to do it. So then I rock up there on the day, get up there and give the pastime of Prahlad Maharaj being protected by Lord Nrsingadev when his I said the most powerful totalitarian government of all history.
Oh, well,
King
he's
Hiranyakashipu.
in the universe.
Exactly. Trying to take over the universe, and the 5-year-old boy just like said no and relied on the Lord. And so my conclusion was, do not be afraid. And that was the talk that I gave. And doing that, and then going out and doing Harinam, and Krishna gave us signs along the way, like literally going out into Harinam in a protest. There's 2 of us, me and Sevaka Vatsala, we're playing Mridanga cartels, and then there are people there blowing conches and showering us with flower petals.
Wow, like the demigods.
If you wanted a sign, yeah. I was like, if
That's
you
the
wanted
sign.
a sign we're on the right path, there it is.
That's the sign.
But it
Yeah,
did take
that was
building
the
up
sign.
muscle over time of taking those small steps and doing those things to build up to that, to be able to go to Wellington and just go, we're all in
We
on
fear do it anyway, and I think that's when we have to be more philosophical. Exactly when we're feeling at our lowest or like more controlled by these emotions. That's when we really have to be philosophical and just, as you said, you took shelter of the Bhagavad Gita and the message was clear. And those petals were like demigods showering their blessings upon you. That was the sign.
amazing.
You did the right thing.
Yeah. I was like, this is incredible. Like, we just literally got showered with flower petals and people blowing conches. Like, this is really happening. It was kind of like when we were in the Freedom Village, like the veil, in the lives of the Vaishnava saints, there's the story of Shamananda Pandit.
Yeah.
is it Shamananda? Dukhi Krishna Das? Yeah, and he became Shamananda. And he was like, he was in Vrindavan, and then he saw the gopis dancing, and he got Radharani's bangle, and it's
Right.
kind of like a leela that's happening that everybody can see, but then there's this other reality that's like on the other side behind the curtain and the veil. And it was like in that Freedom Village that the veil became very thin, and we kind of like had signs like that happening just constantly. Muchakunda said to me, like, you go to a retreat, you hear like a nectar story about some amazing far out thing that happened, but every interaction that was happening there was like that.
Nice.
You could just say to people, like, everybody here are like sages and demigods who have taken birth on the earth to turn back the invasion of the Asuras, and they would go, yeah, that's why we're here. They would like literally just say, yes, that's why we're here.
Yeah.
Like I'd just be,
And it's
one day
always
coming
like
on
that. You're on the side of the Asuras or you're on the side of the demigods. That's like the constant Leela in this universe. It's like good and evil always fighting each other for balance or for power or for whatever. Which side are you on? You better be on the winning side.
Yeah, which is the devotees.
Which is the devotees, always.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like there were two lenses to see the world through. One was like the demons versus the devotees, or you could see the lens through.
Yeah, no, keep going. Yeah.
You trying to tell me something?
Time.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, we're almost at 2 hours. But there was the lens between the demons and the devotees was one way of seeing the world, and the Bhagavad Gita, but then the other way of seeing the world was the way that they gave everyone to see it, like the pandemic, the masks, the this, the that. And I just saw devotees throw out the Bhagavad Gita, throw out the divine and demoniac nature, and just start repeating wholesale.
The same thing.
Like, no Shastra Chakshus, no seeing the world through the eyes of the scripture, but just seeing the world through this mundane thing that they handed out. Yeah.
And that, to me, that's a scary place to be. Because obviously we're in the material world and anything can happen at any time. This just happened now. You never know what can happen in the future. And it has happened before, through history. It's brutal, the history of the world. And it's like the safest place to be is taking shelter of Shastra and taking shelter of Krishna. You can never play down to like the lower modes of material nature. It's going to destroy you.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take you in a place you don't want to go.
Yeah, it's all in the scriptures anyways.
It's
but
all in the scriptures.
For some reason, we just got so blocked out of it. For some reason. And the scary part is the majority. The majority.
Yeah. I'm so glad we did what we did, because otherwise that movie wouldn't exist. And there would be no evidence that it was the right thing to do. They would have, it would have been like, they would have said, don't chant, don't go to the protest, don't chant the holy name, don't distribute prasadam. And if no devotees went out and did it, then history would just be like that was the right thing to do. And there would be no evidence that.
You did the right thing. That was for sure.
The movie would have existed.
That was for sure.
Yeah, the movie would have existed except without the devotees.
Yeah.
And I hope a lot of people see it, because it was powerful. There's something very powerful, not just about the chanting and the prasad distribution, but people coming together to say, hey, we do have a choice, and you cannot impose these things. And that was very, very powerful message.
And the thing that a very clear thing from the perspective of the scripture says, the demons always wants to take the choice of a person, the free will of a person. Something about the minds of the demons, they enjoy, they love that.
Yeah.
In comparison to Krishna is just like, you know what? Do as you will, as you please. I already gave you the instructions. Now it's up to you.
Now you take your own decision, and that's the beauty. You can take either decision is good for you, as long as it's a conscious one.
Yeah.
It's like if you want to go along with the narrative after giving it careful thought, and that's exactly what you need to do, then go ahead and do it. But it's your decision, and own it as yours and yours alone. and be ready to face the consequences of taking that decision for yourself. But if somebody else takes a different decision, they also have that right.
Mm.
And nobody can take that away from us. That's like the meaning of freedom. And that's the meaning of freedom of choice and free will, which is really what brings us to this material world. We're here to experience the consequences of our actions. And based on those consequences, learn to evolve.
Mm.
We're back here. We went to lord over it.
We're at the 2-hour mark. Is there anything else that you wanted to share while we have you, Kishori Devi?
Well, I'm just very grateful to know both of you, really. You're very inspiring. Thank you so much for inviting us here. And I was just really proud of both of you. And, I had heard about what you had done, but when I saw it in the movie, I just realized the power of what you had done. And I'm just so happy that it's there for everybody in the world to see it and hopefully take inspiration. And you guys will go down in history as heroes. So I'm just very proud of you and just thank you for what you
Krishna
did.
will go.
Yes.
Krishna will always be the victorious one.
Yeah,
Yes,
one is
always.
Just accept it.
One is
Accept it.
famous Yashas when he is known as a great devotee of Lord Krishna. That's what fame.
Yes.
Otherwise, he's infamous.
Not even attached to fame, to be honest. Not even attached to fame, because fame can go anytime, anywhere. One
Yes,
bad
but at
choice,
the
it
end of
can.
the day, you have that inner satisfaction that you did the right
Mm.
thing.
Mm.
And that
I'll
you
take the
stood
fame as
your
well.
ground and follow. Yeah, why not? But you followed your convictions and you just went ahead and did it, and it takes a tremendous amount of character and inner strength to do that.
I would have done it without the fame, and I'll also take the fame. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mother
Yeah, become
Kishori.
famous.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
great that you and Vaiyasaski Prabhu were there to see the premiere. That was very special to us. That it's kind of like, our movie came out and it was the world premiere and there's 1,400 people. And then we got to go and see it with you and with the other devotees. It was amazing.
And every time you were on that screen, people were still cheering. So everybody that was there, they remember you fondly. You were very, very important in that protest. Everything you did touched a lot of people's hearts. And that to me is like one of the biggest things that I take away from that movie. People loved you. As soon as you guys were on that screen, everybody was like, wow, they remember the chanting, they remember the prashad, they remember the energy and the love that you brought. It's like, how can you fight with people chanting and giving you food? Like literally being your mother, bringing joy to something that, was quite heavy. You guys came in with the spiritual energy, with the love, with all the joy, and that's what people got. That was a success.
Yeah.
Shout outs to Abhay Charan, because he's the person that decided to come with the pots and the food.
And then do the cooking. Yeah. What a
and Budi,
legend.
yeah. Shout outs to him, because he also have a journey to come down. He has pastimes there, but it was the matter of like the conviction and the service to Krishna, they wanted to do, he wanted to do. And all of the devotees that were present there, because it's not only us or Sitapati, but
everybody was important.
They were very important because they brought their part to play in that. And I send my appreciations to them, because it takes courage. Being minority, it takes courage to be there.
Yes.
And you know what?
It takes a lot of character.
It does. It does.
It does, because everybody, as you were saying, most people just played into the narrative. It was like the majority. And to go against the group, it takes a lot of inner strength to be yourself and be authentic and, stand your guard and like be very clear what your values are and what you will do. And that takes tremendous amount of courage. So all of you were literally heroes. And I can't wait to see this on Netflix, maybe, like all over the world.
It's going to go big. This is the fulfillment of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And ultimately, we were there representing him.
Yes.
And his mercy.
Yes.
And that's what he wants us to do. it's what he would have wanted us to do, and
in a bigger scale. But anyways, that's how we start.
yeah, but I think,
That's the
for me,
spirit of Lord Chaitanya, the whole thing with the Kasi and,
yeah,
that
yeah,
pastime.
exactly.
Like, you gotta
Yeah.
do the needful.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Prabhupada
Kishori.
ki jai.
Kijai, thank you so
welcome.
much. And thank you for your words and, the giving us the power to keep going, your blessings, your blessings. And may Krishna always bring you, your husband and you again to the more kirtan.
Yeah.
Yes,
We definitely
yes,
have to get you to come back.
always.
Yeah.
Always. So,
Hare Krishna.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Radhe
Krishna.
Radhe. Hari Bol. Hare
Radhe
Krishna.
Radhe.
Haribo. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
So there you go. That's Vaiyasaski Prabhu and
His
Kishori Devi.
wife and his wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to have, Vaisaki Prabhu, and how much love he has for Srila Prabhupada, and his life is using it, to serve Srila Prabhupada.
What a great couple.
Yeah, they are.
They're awesome.
Yeah, they are. That's what we need, more couples. We need more grihastas to be in the service of Srila Prabhupada and her own go every day and inspire many, many more couples to come together and do what we're doing. Not only us. I guess we can be the starters,
Mhm.
Being in a podcast, going together, inviting more grihastas or, other devotees. But we need that. We need the power of grihastas now. We do need a lot.
That was how Srila Prabhupada started the movement, was grihasta couples.
Mm.
Who were we talking to the other day who was saying that? He would send a grihasta couple to go and open a temple.
Mhm.
And then, a grihasta couple would go open a temple somewhere, and they would have like maybe it was Krishnendo who was saying that at the retreat. Because they'd have like the mother and father energy kind of there, and they could create that kind of vibe.
Environment, yeah.
Yeah, and then there were the 3 couples that he sent to London to get things started there. There was Mukunda Goswami, Shamasunda and Malati, Janaki, so Mukunda and Janaki,
Mhm.
Shamasunda and Malati. And who was the third couple?
No idea.
Not sure. Anyway, grihasta couples. Yeah.
I think that's the most powerful thing, doing as a couple things in service of Srila Prabhupada. That not only will inspire people to get into a relationship and take it seriously, also it will inspire, like, in service of Krishna, to be coupled and do something for humanity. It takes something. It's not just like walking 2 human beings, male and female, Anyone these days, anyone can be a male and female being together. But doing something together in service to humanity, it is something different.
I mean, look, just to maybe push back a little bit on that, or to challenge it a little bit, that anybody can be together, male and female. I mean, the divorce rate very high, and this is like for people who get married.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Anyone could be together in a relationship, temporarily, or whatever relationship. But what really makes a relationship is that you have a purpose in life as a couple. Purpose in life as a couple.
What a purpose.
Male and female. It's difficult even just being male and female being together. It has its challenges because you need to be able to, as a female, you need to be able to understand the male psyche, and male psyche has to be able to understand the female psyche. There is just a lot of conflict already just by being there.
Yeah.
But having a life that has like an aim for your life as in a relationship, on top of that, to serve the humanity, it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And I guess most of the relationship ends because, at some point, the beginning is quite sweet, you see. it's all
The honeymoon phase.
the honeymoon phase is just like so sweet, thinking that everything is gonna be like that. It doesn't. It doesn't. After a year, 2 years, things is just like become a little bit
Challenging.
stale. Same face, same body, same mood, or same jokes or humor. It is just like, okay, this is just a little bit
What are
of.
you saying? You don't like my jokes?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just in general. I'm speaking in general
Oh, okay.
terms.
But what about my jokes?
They're very dry. Yes. But what makes it more tasteful, a relationship? It requires you to develop some skills in a relationship when you have a goal in life. There is something to look forward, something that you want to get out of your life with the other person. And it's more beautiful because, you know, you sharing with a person your life, you expressing to that person, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to get, or how do we get to where we want to get? And there will be the development, communication, understanding the person, where they're coming from, on top of male and female interaction.
Yeah, the individual, because
Yeah.
it's not just that there's like women and they're all the same.
No, obviously I'm not the same as any other woman. Obviously not. Maybe not even physically. Not even physically I'm the same. There are differences even physically.
Yeah.
It's the same for a male, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you develop new skills in a relationship, you know, and that is the whole thing. Because in order for you to grow, you have to go through tough times. You need to develop new skills, and tough times will show us that, would teach us that.
There's a book by Robert H. Schuller, which my grandmother was really into him. He was a preacher and he made a thing called the Crystal Cathedral.
Into him or into his teaching?
Into his teachings, you know.
Okay, but into him it's just a bit like, oh, okay.
Yeah. He wrote a book called Tough Times Don't Last, Tough People Do.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to go through tough times. And then it's kind of like, well, what will keep you going through them? You know, what's worth it to go through? So you've got to have some kind of higher thing that you're connected to. Even the last 3 years have been pretty tough, generally for people, and then, you know, specifically. And then generally for people and specifically for each people, and then just for myself personally, pretty tough. 3 years to go through. 2020 to 2023, where we are now. Well, not even, it's more than 3 years now. It's like nearly 4 years.
For you.
Since 2020. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, with the pandemic and everything, changing countries, parent passing away, etc., then everything that was going on all around everything. And it's kind of like having the mission. You know, what were we listening to on the way? We were listening to How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling on the way back from up north. Yep. And there was this one part there where he's talking about waking up every morning, and he had something that you say to yourself, you know. So I created something to say to myself every morning when I wake up. He was talking about being enthusiastic. He was like, if you just fake being enthusiastic until you feel it, he said, that's how you do it.
Or naturally being enthusiastic. Yay.
Yeah. So there's that, right? But then sometimes you don't feel enthusiastic, and what can you do about that? It's just like Mother Kishori was saying about, you know, not being afraid, not having fear, not operating on that platform. But
it's hard to be fearless.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't, you know, you were mentioning to her like, oh, I was like fearful and this and concerns. It was like, oh, I didn't know that you were fearful and concerned. It was like, oh, okay. But anyways, for me, it's just.
What do you mean? Say more about that.
Well, you just mentioned that you are you have a concern and you have a fear of, you know,
going and speaking at the event.
In
2020.
Yeah. And all of the whole trajectory of the pandemic. It's incredible how you say that, because in my situation was single mother, I have a child, Just bought a land
So you bought the land when, and when did you buy it?
before the pandemic.
Just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the mandates, and
That's right. Because
I have one thing that I admire about myself.
Mm.
Is sometimes I'm so fearless.
Mhm. Mhm.
Fearless. The only thing I was thinking is, you know what? I have God. And he promised me he will take care of me, and he will do it, because there's no one in this world, and yourself, that can actually be loyal and truthful to the promises.
Mm. Yeah.
And I say, you know what? I signed the paper. No, I didn't even sign the paper. I told my boss, you know what? I'm not signing. I'm not doing any injections. Sorry. This is the date. See you later. It didn't come to my mind, what kind of job? How I'm going to pay my mortgage? Any of those. All I have in my mind is I need to go there, self-sufficiency. I need to protect my daughter. I need to do this, and that's it. And everything else, I have God.
Mhm.
Nothing can go wrong. I have God.
Mm.
Yeah. And being in this profess thing in Wellington with the Christian people, and every single day being there, I know every single profess or Saturday protest thing, I was there counting only with God.
Mm.
Nothing else, just God. Everything was falling apart, all the stress and anxiety of getting all my stuff from my house, selling some stuff, giving away some stuff, moving my stuff all the way to Taranaki,
Mhm.
going to schools just to find the right school for my daughter where she can keep at least that sense of God and the connection with God, and coming to a place that I don't know anyone, absolutely no one. Right there, I was just like so fixated. Right there, I will do it this way, and this way. Nothing else but God. Being singled out for work, obviously they already knew, I think only two people out of my workplace were like, no, we're not doing it.
Mm.
Only two people. And everybody else, doesn't matter the religion, even the friend that was in the Christian group, she did have all her shots. But she was against that, but still she had it.
Right, because she wasn't willing to make it a principled stand on
No.
and take the consequences of that.
Yeah. All of that.
Yeah, I was just like, there's just absolutely no way I'm taking this. Yeah, like making this thing mandatory was crazy.
It is against my morality that we say, oh, you read these documents, you have to give, if a person wants to take any medication, anything, you need to explain the person what are your rights, all the information. You have the choice, the consent, you can withdraw your consent after I gave you the information, all of that. This is a legal part of my job.
Mm.
And then they are doing that to me. I was like, it doesn't work that way. It's conflicting with my values and principles.
Mm-hmm.
It's conflicting for my clients or my.
It's hypocritical.
It is, absolutely. And do you think I can give that my truthfulness and who I am for that? It's like, no, Krishna, you will care for me, and I know that. He showed me his hands in many different ways,
and
he did this time as well.
Incredible. You know how I was saying about the blowing the conches and the flower petals?
Mm-hmm.
It happened again there in Wellington.
Yeah.
And it was just after that lady came up and was like, your music sucks. We'll hate it. You need to leave.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was kind of a bit disturbed after that. And then a few minutes later, I was being showered by flower petals again.
Mm-hmm.
I've never had that experience. Those are the only 2 times I've ever had that experience. I'm out doing Harinam, and then someone is showering me with flower petals. It was in the Auckland Domain
Mhm.
in a protest there,
Mhm.
and then again on the day the February the 10th, I believe it was, when all of the people got arrested in Wellington.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it was Feb 10. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it was Feb 10 because Feb 8 we went down with the convoy. The night of Feb 8 we went back to Nurturing Soul, and we came back on the morning of February the 9th and
Mhm.
slept in our cars February 9 overnight. Got up February 10, and that was the day when all the people got
Mm.
arrested.
Mhm.
The police tried to move everyone out, and that was when it really
Mm.
escalated from there.
Mm.
Yeah.
Anyways, anything that you want to say? Anything else?
Just to reiterate what I was saying before about like the it's impossible to argue against that it was the right thing to do for me personally, you know. It's like the movie, the wife, the new family.
Your wife.
Yeah, my wife.
Out of the fire. Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah.
With the sweet rice. Oh, happy.
Yeah.
And not wanting to be seen when you were filming me.
Yeah.
It's like, what is this dude doing on my face? Get out.
Yeah, it's yeah. Krishna in Bhagavad Gita in 828, Krishna says, let me pull it out
Mm-hmm.
with this new first edition Bhagavad Gita, pocket edition. This is the pocket edition Bhagavad Gita that Krishnendu, this is not the actual one, but this edition, which we got in Whangarei, is the one that Krishnendu gave the first ever Bhagavad Gita class
Mm-hmm.
on Parliament Gardens during
Mm-hmm.
the occupation. But in Bhagavad Gita 828, it says this. 821, 822.
And what part of Bhagavad Gita was that, in chapter 3 or chapter 1? When Krishna, I think chapter 3, when Krishna said, don't fear, I'm with you, I will protect you.
That's in chapter 18, mi amor.
Is it?
Yeah, Masuchaha.
I don't think so.
What?
I don't know. I just get all my chapters mixed.
Yeah, it's 1864. Or 61. No, 1866. So,
Keep trying.
yeah, it's 1866. See?
No.
Masuchaha.
No, there's another one.
Where it says Masuchaha?
No. Yeah, don't I will protect you. It's in chapter 3 somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to find it.
Anyways, what were you trying to share?
This one here. This is 828. A person who accepts the path of devotional service
Mhm.
is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode.
Mhm.
In other words, through the path of devotional service, you don't miss out on any of the other stuff. You actually get all the other stuff that was there, and at the end, you reach the supreme abode. And Srila Prabhupada explains this in the purport to 135 perfectly. 135. Okay. One 32 to 35. Here it is here. Materially, everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God to be the order supply for such satisfaction.
Mhm.
The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but
Yeah.
not to the extent that they may covet. If I was the editor, I would have changed that to, the Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent that they may desire.
Mm.
But it says covet.
Mhm.
But when one takes the opposite way, namely, when one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entity are satisfied.
Mm.
Wow.
He knows our desires.
You know, some people are out there trying to find a partner, you know. I want to find a wife or whatever. Here's me, just go out there and chant Hare Krishna. And then next minute, boom, married. Like minutes later.
Sitapati sings, Dana. Oh, that's my wife. Me. Do. Just enjoy my world.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mm. Well, the thing is, you cannot get away with whatever is already arranged.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's the divine thing.
Well, Rupa Goswami says that by clapping the hands in kirtan, sinful reactions fly away from the body like birds startled from a tree. You know how the birds are all in the tree and you're like, bang, and then they all go shh. And so clapping hands in kirtan does that. And then one devotee, Kaila Tirtha Prabhu, he told me that clapping your hands in kirtan changes your destiny. So the lines, you know, how you have lines on your palms. He said clapping your hands in the kirtan changes the lines on your hands. So predestined or not,
Well, Krishna already, Krishna knows the past, present, and future. He already knows that. For us, it's like, it's hard to understand. You can clap your hands as much as you want and everything, but Krishna already is like, come on. He already knows that.
But is it like predestined that you'll become a devotee? And then is there any free will at all then in the universe? If it's all predestined.
It's already.
There's no free will?
Well, you have free will, but you know what? It's like I've been compare this analogy. It's like you have this little glass thing for a fish, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one fish, and the fish can do anything he likes in this. It has a free will.
Yeah.
But it can only have a free will within this container.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Limited free will.
Yeah, you have limited free will, but you have the free will, You're thinking like, oh, this is amazing and new. I have the free will.
Yeah.
But you know what? Krishna already knows, like, okay, yeah.
So then this idea, then, if you use that and then available within that free will is turning to Krishna, like if you imagine it like this, okay? And I'm just like throwing ideas around, brainstorming now. You got this limited free will, you're a fish in a little bowl or whatever, but inside that bowl is clapping your hands in kirtan or doing devotional services inside the bowl. And when you choose to do that, rather than any of the other things, eating the fish food or whatever, then the bowl actually changes. It gets bigger.
He's the supreme. He can do whatever he wants.
Mm-hmm.
If he decides to put your little fish body into a bigger pond, he can do it. But it's up to him.
Okay, but what about the role of, what about your individual response? Because, Vaiyasaski Prabhu said, Yayata mam prapradyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham, quoting from Bhagavad Gita, as each surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly.
Yeah. If he desires, he says, okay, you know what? I want my little fish to be in this bigger pond.
Yeah, but what about this idea that it's like he gives the opportunity to everyone, but it's up to them to take advantage of it?
Well, the opportunity will only come if you do, things that are pleasing to Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was saying, like any, what do you call these people that don't believe in God?
Atheist.
Even the atheists,
mm-hmm.
They don't believe in God. Even the atheists are getting fed by God.
Yeah. Well,
even the atheists have the air, the rain, the sun, the moon, the earth. They have everything that God created.
Yeah.
And they still say, like, I don't believe in God, Even God is giving them their food, their what do you call this one? Reciprocation of their karma, or their reactions of their karma.
Yeah, well, it says here
it's not denied.
The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening.
Exactly.
Giving them the maintainer of all creatures, Janardana. O maintainer of all creatures. Yeah.
They can go hardcore in their life, denying God, denying the miracles of life. They can do that.
The only thing about this Gita here is that in order to make it so small, the Devanagari is not there.
What is
Okay.
Devanagari?
The Devanagari, you know, the
Ah, the
Sanskrit.
translation. Yeah. Oh.
It's got the transliteration in Latin, and it's got the transliteration, that's called. It doesn't have the word for word synonyms.
I know.
That's the piece that's missing.
Yeah. But anyways, it's a
Yeah.
pocket Bhagavad Gita.
It's a pocket Bhagavad Gita.
Anyways.
Look, it has a verse index.
I ask you if you want to add something else, but we keep going here.
Oh,
and
we
I'm
could go forever.
extremely hungry.
Are you? Okay, let's go and have dinner then. Hey, should we put this on YouTube or should I pull it down? Because what do you think? Is it going to get us another strike about vaccine misinformation?
I don't know. Just try. If not, yeah.
What, you think we should leave it up there?
Yeah. I'm not-
Okay. But, you know, if we get another strike, we might even take the whole channel down.
Ooh la la. No, I think we'll be okay.
Okay.
It's a very auspicious day.
Okay. September 11, auspicious day. It was an inside job.
Inside job.
Yeah. Okay. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Total world victory of Hare Krishna. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks for your comments, questions, etc., etc. And what do we want to go out with? Do we want to play the intro again, or will we just go out with the outro and Gora Prabhu singing?
Okay.
Which one?
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay, we're going to go out with the outro and Gora Prabhu singing.
I'm gonna
Hare
try.
Krishna. Thanks for tuning in and coming for the next episode, which we don't know what it is or when it is.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay.
Okay. Take 4.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna,